who comes and stops us in our tracks. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Hello, hello. All right. We are ready to go. We give it a little bit so people can show up. And then we will get started. Get it started. I hope everybody has been getting the announcements that the group is shutting down and that I have it covered with another group called Stay Sober Colorado. And I would highly recommend clicking on the link and doing that so that you can keep up with what's going on in the community. So cool stuff there. Hopefully people show up. It's funny because there's always people here. I just don't know about it. So, and what I'm doing is just trying to figure out where this lines up, and I'll get started here at like the 3-minute mark, I'm thinking. So, all right, that's a good place to start. Hi, Patricia. Good to see you. Good to see you. I may have another Patricia coming in. She runs the Stay Sober Colorado. Patricia, if you haven't clicked on that link, where I'm shutting the Trudging Together group down in 2 days. So click on that link. Of course, you're still going to be able to catch these and everything. So I'm just, I'm kind of reminding everybody, and I let everybody know that's a usual poster in there also. So, because I have a lot of people that kind of count on me. So I want to make sure everybody's still getting the same information. And that group's run by a good friend of mine. Her name's Patricia. And we're like-minded. So I know nobody's going to hear it. Yeah, nobody. Well, here's the thing. We're going to clean it up too. Because we got people posting there that shouldn't be posting. You know how it goes. But as soon as they find out that I'm in the group, a lot of them will probably just leave. So. Why do people give other people so much power like that? Anyway, so we're going to read out of the 12 by 12 today. And I'm going to start on page 56 at the last paragraph for anybody that wants to follow along. I forgot to send Ingrid a message. Actually, I think she's busy. So, Ingrid, if you are, what I'm going to start doing? Maybe when I put it out, maybe I could just start putting the page number where I'm reading from. So that way, when you join, if you want to read along, you already got it. There we go. We can make an improvement. Thank you. All right. So let's get started on a new sense of belonging and how we reach a new sense of belonging. This practice of admitting one's defects to another person is, of course, very ancient. It has been validated in every century, and it characterizes the lives of all spiritually centered and religious people. But today, religion is by no means the sole advocate of this saving principle. Psychiatrists and psychologists point out the deep need every human being has for practical insight and knowledge of his own personality flaws, and for the discussion of them with an understanding and trustworthy person. And I think those are some key words there. An understanding and trustworthy person. And you're going to be divulging some pretty deep truths about yourself. So when it comes to step 5, most people do it with their sponsor. Um, but I'd be amiss if I didn't, or remiss if I didn't say that you need to let your sponsee know that they can utilize other people for their 5th step. Okay, they need to know that, even though they probably are going to do it with you. Why? Because the next person needs to know. Right? So it's important that we cover these bases. The point is that it's number one, understanding. If you don't have an understanding person do your 5th step or step 5 work with, and you don't feel safe, then you're gonna skip on some things. Okay, that's why it's usually best to do it with your sponsor, because your sponsor knows when you're lying. So, all right. So far as alcoholics are concerned, AA would go even further. Most of us would declare that without a fearless admission of our defects to another human being, we could not stay sober. It seems plain that the grace of God will not enter to expel our destructive obsessions until we are willing to try this. So we're back to willingness again. What a wonderful, wonderful word. Without it, none of us would be here. I wouldn't. Not without willingness. Willingness goes into everything. But what I'd like to point out about step 4 and step 5 is this. Okay? We all know that there's power in pen to paper. Okay? That's an old saying. It's put it to pen and paper. That means write about it. Because a lot of times, and just write, man. Sometimes you should just write and find out what happens. But in step 4, we're going to write it down. Another way to solidify things is to talk about it. Okay? This is counseling 101, essentially. So, why are we doing this? Because we need to become aware of who we are and how we tick and how we do things, because we're going to need to change some of those things. A lot of those things. Almost all of it. Okay? Don't think that you don't have any good characteristics, because you do. I almost said good character defects. That would work. What are we likely to receive from step 5? Okay, there are step 5 promises in the big book. For one thing, we shall get rid of that terrible sense of isolation we've always had. Loneliness. See, our resentments, our anger, our character defects have kept us lonely. They have separated us from other people, because nobody likes to be around people that are angry all the time. Nobody wants that. It's just no fun to be around people like that. How do I know that? Because I had a very bad anger problem. Almost without exception, alcoholics are tortured by loneliness. Even before our drinking got bad and people began to cut us off, nearly all of us suffered the feeling that we didn't quite belong. That happened to me before I even started drinking. It's actually one of the reasons I started drinking, because once I did start drinking when I was younger, I became instantly popular. Girls wanted to be with me. It was weird. It was weird. But I found like I had found my calling at 14 years old. Actually, I was 13. There's just too many things to remember. Either we were shy and dared not draw near others, or we were apt to be noisy goodfellows, craving attention and companionship, but never getting it, at least to our way of thinking. I was both of these. Growing up, I was pretty shy. And I don't know necessarily that I was shy as much as the fact that um as much as the fact that um I just didn't like you. See, nobody ever really treated me with what much respect, so I didn't find it necessary to give that back. And then I found when I opened my mouth, people made fun of me because I talked differently. And it isn't just, the way that I talked, it was what I would say and how I would say it. See, I was always that kid. I was that kid where if you were doing something wrong, I would point it out. I would. When I think I was 4 or 5, it was my mom's birthday. And I was told that my mom was not getting a birthday cake. And that pissed me the fuck off. I was so angry that my mom was not getting a birthday cake. Okay. And I remember this. I remember it clearly. And I tell you what I was thinking. Everybody else got a cake that year. My mom needs a cake. I'm a mama's boy. Okay. And the way I saw it was, because I was still pretty young, was that if I didn't get a cake, I would be pretty upset. And I don't like it when people hurt my mommy. So I ran away. As much as a 5-year-old can in the 70s. The neighbors, I went to a neighbor's house, and thankfully they knew my mom. And guess what? My mother got a birthday cake. So there. It's a fun story. Except for the running away part. I ran away a lot. I just always kind of did whatever the hell I wanted to. I've always been that way. I'm still that way. I don't know why. I don't know why. All right. There was always that mysterious barrier we could neither surmount nor understand. It was as if we were actors on a stage, suddenly realizing we did not know a single line of our parts. That's one reason we loved alcohol too well. It let us act extemporaneously. But even Bacchus boomeranged on us. We were finally struck down and left in terrified loneliness. Man, that's one way to put it. Terrified loneliness. I can relate to that because I was terrified. I was alone. I didn't know what was going to happen. And it's a great, great big fucking world out there. And when you're 5, 7, 10, 13, I never really felt safe. And that was a big thing for me. And it's a big thing for me to this day. Creating safe spaces. That's what this is. That's why I made the group private, even though it's going away. Okay. When we reached AA for the first time in our lives, stood among people who seemed to understand, the sense of belonging was tremendously exciting. Yes. In fact, it can be so exciting, it can send us out to drink. Right? Think about it. Okay. And I've gotten much better at excitement. So even 6 months ago, I would have told you I suck with excitement. I've gotten much better at it. What happens when I get too excited? My anxiety comes out. My heart starts racing, and I'm excited with anxiety. And I don't like that feeling. So I don't like getting over elated. So when I get good news, I have to take it for what it is, for exactly what it is, and not blow it up in my head. Okay. But I was just talking about safe spaces. So when I came to AA for the first time on my own, and I was willing, I felt like I finally belonged. I was an 18-year-old kid living on Skid Row, and I ended up going into the place called a Phoenix Concept, and it was a halfway house for homeless alcoholics. This was back in 1988. Actually, it was 89, March of 89. I was still 18, and I still felt like I belonged. The closest person my age was 32. I hadn't been living on the streets as long as these guys had. Right? They still had cars and stuff that they were sleeping in, things like that. So even though that there was a huge age separation and a pretty big separation of the classifications of alcoholism, okay? I'd been there for about 2 weeks, and they approached me and said, "Yeah, if we would have known you were 18, we wouldn't have let you in." And I said, "Well, I guess God's working in my life, isn't he?" So, and I knew how to say that. That wasn't my first rodeo. It was like my third. Okay. I wasn't I was a drug and alcohol counselor before I was legal age to drink. So that's what alcohol will do. It'll do that. Okay. We thought the isolation problem had been solved. Yeah, until the pink cloud ends. Right. But we soon discovered that while we weren't alone anymore in the social sense, we still suffered many of the old pangs of anxious apartness. Until we had talked with complete candor of our conflicts and had listened to someone else do the same, we still didn't belong. Step 5 was the answer. It was the beginning of a true kinship with man and God. I'm going to read the next paragraph because it starts out this vital. So I'm going to read it. This vital step also means by which we began to get the feeling that we could be forgiven no matter what we had thought or done. Often it was while working on this step with our sponsors or a spiritual advisor that we first felt truly able to forgive others, no matter how deeply we felt they had wronged us. Our moral inventory had persuaded us that all around forgiveness was desirable, but it was only when we resolutely tackled step 5 that we inwardly knew we'd be able to receive forgiveness and give it to. Okay. So, in the beginning, our new sense of belonging is going to be the AA group, right? Yeah, it's going to be the AA group. And that's going to last. It'll last you for a little while. But the real feeling of belonging comes from God. Okay. There are going to be times when an AA meeting is not available. Nobody's answering the phone. Maybe it's 2 o'clock in the morning, right? Your phone broke. You can't get to a meeting, even a Zoom meeting. Okay. You've got to be okay with you and God. That's where loneliness vanishes. So, why is step 5 like that? Because everything that you're talking about in 4 or 5 is all the stuff that's been blocking you from the sunlight of the spirit. And now that you're recognizing them and removing them, you are becoming closer to the sunlight. Okay. And that's when that feeling of serenity may settle in for you, or you may feel a little twinge of it, unless you have PTSD like me, and then it's going to take you 5 years. It's a joke, guys. It's a joke. Who knows how your journey is going to be? I don't know. Okay? But I do know if you thoroughly follow the path, you'll make it. Almost 4 years in AA, I was able to discover the freedom from the burden of buried emotions that had caused me so much pain. With the help of AA and extra counseling, I'm going to cover something here after this, real quick. With the help of AA and extra counseling, the pain was released, and I felt a complete sense of belonging and peace. I also felt a joy and love of God that I had never experienced before. I am in awe of the power of step 5. It is the healing step. You get to heal, and when you heal, you automatically start to get this 3-letter word called joy. And so, step 5. Okay. Let's say you've done a complete and fearless, thorough inventory. Ah, well, hi to you too. I don't know who that is, but I like you. It says Facebook user, so I don't know. But thank you. Must be my wife. I don't know. I love that stuff. Um, so, and you've hewn away at a lot of stuff, but you still find yourself being triggered by certain things. I went through this, and it confused the hell out of me because I'm like, I did a great 4th and 5th step. How do I know? Because my sponsor told me that I did. But there were some things I couldn't let go. And people would tell me, Dion, those are resentments. And they were not resentments. They were not resentments. Okay. What I was getting was flashbacks. It was trauma. And to think that maybe we went through all of this stuff to come out with no trauma. Sorry. You know, go listen. Go listen to your own story and hear it, man. Listen to it. So I was just remembering I have to tell my story on the 27th. That's 6 days away. So I don't have to worry about it. So if you're still, let's say you're 6 months in the program and you're still feeling very, very anxious about a lot of things, it's time to see a therapist. And I don't want to hear, oh, therapy doesn't work. Well, if you're willing and you want to solve your problems, oh, hi, Katie. Good to see you, honey. That there might be other things that you need to deal with. Right? The reason that therapy didn't work is because we weren't honest with them. Therapy, okay, going to therapy, a counselor, a therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist does not solve your problems. You solve your own problems. There again, they are a guide, but they are specialized in it. So they understand it and have more knowledge than you do about it. So get more knowledge. I did EMDR and I will tout that forever. All right. I'm going to describe it real quick, not what EMDR is, but the effects. I'm going to use my father, the man that raised me, as an example. I was getting ready to do EMDR around my feelings around him and the trauma there. And before that, all I could think of was all the times he cut me down or, just showed that, let's just say he wasn't a loving man to me. And he treated me a lot different than the other kids. And it hurt. It hurt. It talking about it still does kind of hurt. But I don't get triggered. So what happens with trauma and PTSD is when you get triggered, it's happening in the portion of your brain right here, and it thinks it's happening right now, and it's not. What EMDR does is it takes that and puts it over to the memory portion of your brain so that you can be aware of it. So then I did EMDR, 15 minutes, and my mind changed. Suddenly, now when I think about it, yeah, it hurts a little bit, but then it's followed up with, you know what, Dion? He was 30 years old, trying to figure out life, and he did the best that he could with what he had. And he did. Isn't that, now that doesn't mean it didn't happen, right? And that's okay. My feelings are valid, but I am responsible for my own feelings. I am. I gotta be. If I'm not accountable for my own feelings, then I'm just dumping on other people. Okay. So it's instant gratification, which should appeal to any alcoholic. We love instant gratification. Try EMDR. Okay. This is what I want you to think on though, because I already know, because I can feel the fear from here. When I talk about therapy, I can feel people's fear. Okay. Courage. Courage to change the things that I can. Okay. Where do we get courage? We get courage from God. Okay. So you need to walk through that fear. Okay? You need to walk through that fear. We outgrow fear. That means we're growing up. Okay. When I was a kid, I was afraid of the dark. I'm not so afraid now. I still get a little scared. 90% of the time, I feel like I'm 10. I do not feel 52. I do not. I do not feel that age. So, all right. Well, that's going to be it on this round. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Everything left my brain at once, including how to end. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I love you. Peace out and have a day.